Richard, a successful architect, had always dreamt of fatherhood. He envisioned family dinners, bedtime stories, and the laughter of children filling their homes. Omowa, on the other hand, was a top social media fashion influencer who didn't want to lose her beautiful youthful look and flattering body shape. Her fans always look up to her videos and she always wanted to keep them up with trends. The idea of motherhood with its inevitable changes to her body was a shadow she wished to avoid. One morning, as Richard and Omowa sat on their dining table, eating their breakfast, Richard was lost in thoughts, and then he casually brought up the topic that had lingered in his mind for so long. Omowa, have you ever thought about having a baby? I mean, really thought about it. I think this will complete us, Richard said. Omowa looked up from her plate, her expression a mix of surprise and discomfort. She took a moment and gathered her thoughts, her fork pausing mid-air. Richard, I love our lives the way it is. I'm not sure I'm ready to give up my career and all the hard work I have put into it. Having a baby will change everything, she replied. Richard's heart sank, but he pressed on, his voice gentle but firm. I understand your concerns, my love. No one is asking you to give up your career. It's about expanding our lives, adding more joy, more love. We could manage it all together. Omowa's eyes flashed with frustration, her voice raising slightly. You don't understand, Richard. It's easy for you to say it because it won't affect you the same way. The room grew tense, the air thick with unspoken words. Richard's face hardened, a flicker of hurt crossing his features. Omowa angrily left the table, leaving her food. That night, Omowa refused to talk to Richard. She didn't even serve him dinner, as he had to go to the kitchen to prepare his dinner. Richard loves when the house is peaceful and calm. He hates when his wife gives him attitude. It was a long night for both Richard and Omowa. As Omowa woke up in the morning, she was surprised to see a gift box by her side. She eagerly unwrapped it. To her greatest surprise, Richard had gotten her a beautiful Birkin bag she had longed for. Out of excitement, she jumped out of the bed and ran to him in the sitting room. Richard knew his wife so well. At that moment, he knew he had unlocked a key. Omowa jumped on him out of excitement. She told him she's ready to give him a baby. Richard couldn't believe his ears. She repeated it again and told him she will give him a child, but under one condition. At that point, Richard didn't mind whatever condition Omowa had. He was ready to do it. She told him her mother will come live with them for a whole 1 year. Omowa's mother was known for her trouble and control problems. In fact, Richard always felt she was a bad influence on Omowa and didn't want her anywhere close to their lives. But if her mother's coming for a year is the price he has to pay to have a child, then it's not too much to ask. Richard quickly agreed, and that night, they got so intimate and slept happily. Months passed and Omowa became pregnant. Richard did everything possible to make her happy and comfortable. He took her on a weekly shopping and spoiled her like a queen she was. Richard had so much money and could afford to give Omowa almost all she wanted. Though his work demanded a lot of his time and attention, he still makes out time for his pregnant wife. Few weeks to Omowa's EDD, she requested Richard pays a first-class ticket for her mother's coming. saying her mother cannot fly economy. Richard wondered why he will have to pay first class when Mama could even board a bus and come. Omowa insisted and Richard agreed in order for peace to reign. On the day of Mama's arrival, Omowa paid a chef to make varieties of dishes as a welcoming package for Mama. She kept on updating her online audience on what was going on in her life and in her home. Richard became uncomfortable with how reckless his wife had become with money since Mama came. But in order for peace to reign, Richard decided to overlook it. One evening, Richard returned home very tired. He had a bad day at work. He lost a very big contract he was hopeful about. On reaching home, he met his wife and mother-in-law in the sitting room, watching a movie, and the house was so unkempt. They greeted him welcome, but Omowa didn't even stand up to welcome him properly. Richard requested for his dinner, and Omowa told him she had a busy day, making content. Besides, she's also tired. She and Mama had eaten out earlier on. But he could make himself something to eat. That made Richard got more upset. He went straight to the bedroom and slept right away. Days passed and Omowa put to bed a bouncing baby girl. They spent so much money and had a lavish naming ceremony. The baby was called Princess. A lot of bloggers took it on their pages, on their platforms, as Omowa was a mini celebrity on social media. Now that I have given you what you wanted, hope I am free, Omowa said to Richard after the naming was over. Free to do what? To return to my old life, of course, and work on myself. Take it easy, my darling. Everything will fall in place gradually. I do not have that patience, Mr. Richard. I am resuming gym tomorrow, and I don't think I will want to breastfeed Princess for more than a month. Richard was shocked at the words coming out of his wife's mouth. That night, they had a big argument and disagreement, and they all slept angrily. As days passed, Omowa kept on demanding so much money from Richard for the baby's upkeep. Her mother wasn't helpful in the house. All she does is sleep and watch movies. She doesn't even bath nor hold the baby. Either she's tired or she's not feeling too well. Then, what is the aim of coming for the Omugwo? Mr. Richard thought to himself. And in an attempt to salvage the situation, he employed several housemates, but they all left as Omowa and her mother treated them badly and were abusive towards them. Richard's frustration grew, and he wasn't finding it easy in his office, as there had been some allegations of stolen funds meant for a project, and fingers were pointing towards him. One day after the auditors left, Richard's account was freezed. He was asked to return home until investigations were over without a definite time of resumption. Omowa and her mom always engrossed in their gist and content making, barely giving the new baby Princess attention. Each time Richard complained, Omowa would tell him, can't he see they are busy? He should bath the baby, feed the baby, and cook. At that time, he had no money to lavish on both her and her mom. He saw the disrespect grew. Sometimes the two women will go to club at night, saying they are making content. When he complains, they will laugh and ignore him. His finances had dropped and he couldn't sustain the house. Sometimes they depend on Omowa's content payment to afford the basic needs they need in the house. She officially became the provider in the house. One fateful day, after Richard had finished cleaning the house, he sat down on the sofa to get some rest. Suddenly, he felt a tap on his shoulders. It was his mother-in-law. She demanded he rush to the market to get what they needed to cook. Richard was surprised. Has it gotten to this? Mama, what about my wife? He asked. She's making content, Mama replied. You know we need the money, so let her work, she added. At that point, Richard was fed up. He hissed and walked into Omowa's content room, forcing her to pause. The baby was crying, no one attending to her. He raged in anger. She also got angry and started calling him names. She insulted him and called him a weak man. She spoke about him depending on her little content peanuts and being jealous of her. They got into a physical fight. Omowa's mother ran from the sitting room when she heard the screams coming from the content room. On reaching there, she joined hands with her daughter to beat up Richard. They overpowered him as he struggled. Her mother pinned him to the ground as Omowa wanted to hit him with a small stool. Her mother couldn't hold him down anymore as he overpowered her. He pushed Omowa down and she accidentally hit her head on a bare tile floor. At that point, both Mama and Richard stood for some seconds in silence as fear gripped them. Richard quickly rushed to Omowa to check her pulse, only to realize Omowa had no pulse. They both panicked as Mama carried baby Princess and Richard carried Omowa. They rushed to the hospital, but she was pronounced dead on arrival. This incident took a toll on Richard and Mama. The case was reported and Richard was taken to court on the charges of domestic violence. Luckily, Mr. Richard won the case as it was proved he only acted on self-defense. Richard was set free and he reunited with his daughter Princess, while Mama returned back to her home wallowing in regrets. Back in the days, Richard was obliged by his wife to send monthly income to her troublesome mother. But since Omowa's death, Mama was left alone to fend for herself. Richard's company found him innocent and asked him to return. He was promoted to a higher position. Richard gave his best to his daughter and they lived happily. Thank you for watching my stories. Please like and comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. For my old subscribers, I want you to know that you are appreciated. Thank you so much and do have a beautiful day. Bye.